there's a criminal scam. I don't think it's just in the state of Maine. I think it's probably all throughout. I know it's in New Hampshire as well, and Vermont. What is this scam?
Well, they're certainly not making money off the hotels that they operate in the general stores. If you look at a town like Lincoln, Maine, something similar has happened where one family from away, from out of state, has come in and purchased competing rival gas stations. But there's one gas station that's still owned by a local. And so naturally, the people who know the guy who owns the store and don't know the guy who owns the other stores will go and patronize the guy that they still know. So as business has declined to these other general stores, somehow they're still thriving. And initially their employees are locals and Mainers, but then eventually there's a new class of employees who are brought in very likely on visas, who are also from away. So I think that if you look at some of the...
From India.
Yeah. I think that if you look at some of the cases that have been filed, even under the Biden administration, against operations that look a lot like what's happening in Maine, they're immigration scams. They're using these businesses as a pretext to get SBA loans and also to get access to visa programs so that they can sell legal entry into the country to people back in.
So they're selling.
India.
They're selling those visas.
To be clear, I don't have proof that that's happening in Lincoln or Dexter, but there are indictments there's one I know of very well in Texas where that's exactly what was happening.
It's made every town where I've seen it, and it's, a dozen or more worse.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, okay,
Yeah.
there are a million scams, but like if you roll into somebody's town and degrade it on purpose and make it much worse, I think that's a moral crime. And there's been no response at all. Okay.
Yeah. And I was asked about a food pantry operation that they were trying to set up in Dexter. They were trying to raise some money to help give out food to poor people. And I asked, how much of the new owners of Dexter Variety and Toots Delicatessen contributed to this charity operation. Their new pillars of our community and small business owners. How much have they given? And I was never given a very good answer on that.
Yeah, the answer is zero, of course.
But that's only one aspect of how the United States taxpayer is subsidizing what's happening here. About, I would say, a third of the properties in the state of Maine that would go on to become illegal Chinese marijuana grow houses were purchased using mortgages through a program called the Community Development Finance Institution. It's a designation that you give to banks. The entire purpose of the program is to help marginalized communities access financing. The idea is that if you were an immigrant in the 1990s, you couldn't prove regular income, you had irregular finances and trouble accessing a mortgage. So they created this special program to take away some of the risk from the lender. So there's one bank in New York, Quantic Bank, that has the CDFI designation, and on their website they advertise that they'll help non-citizens, foreign nationals, buy property in the United States. This bank advertised on...
I'm trying not to use the F word. Why would we be helping foreign nationals buy in places where there's a housing crisis and the people who are born there can't find a house to live in? What is going on?
And then why, under COVID, would we supercharge the program with an additional tranche of funding? Why would we put that program on steroids? I don't know. I know that it was exploited.
Because you want to kill and replace the people who populate your country. That's why. Replace them with other people, obviously.
Yeah. In looking at the mortgage records, having to actually look at the physical records themselves, I cottoned on to this Quantic Bank pattern. And it's just a quirk of how the registry of deeds records work that you can search by the lender. And so I searched Quantic Bank just to see, do they loan to everybody? Or are they just suddenly a new domain? And I would say 95% of their loans were post-2019 and exclusively to people with Chinese names from New York and from Boston. And in further reviewing those records, I found that there were two loan officers who were originating almost all of those loans, 95% of those loans. And one was a Taiwanese national, and the other was a Chinese national who graduated from a university in China that's affiliated with the PRC's economic warfare program. And I actually got phone interviews with them. They're on our X page. You can go listen to them. I asked Ying Shan Wang, I said, did you know that these properties of all these loans that you're doing were becoming illegal marijuana grow houses? She said, what? No, no way. Well, I'll have to say something about this. We'll have to put a stop to this.
Did they?
Not, I don't know. I'm unaware.
Well, here's a story you probably haven't heard a lot about. The Chinese mafia is exploiting rural America to create a drug empire. This is not available on cable news. The network's not telling you about this, but it's totally real. Communist-affiliated drug gangs destroying parts of the United States, the parts that Washington ignores, to sell drugs, laundering money, and building a black market network inside this country's most beautiful but least served areas. We've got a brand new documentary on this. It's called High Crimes, the Chinese Mafia Takeover of Rural America. It's available now on tuckercarlson.com. It's excellent. The purchase of churches and schools to aid the operation, the jerry-rigging of power boxes to steal electricity, foreign pesticides, collusion with the Mexican cartels. It's unbelievable. By the way, one of the drug houses is like walking distance from my house. I didn't know that. It's a layered and fascinating story. Head to tuckercarlson.com to watch now. We think you'll love it.
I am unaware. I know that there's been a lot of letters written by politicians about the CDFI program, about why we're doing this, but the horse has left the barn at this point. I mean, they have the properties now, and they have the means to generate as much cash as they want. This was a gold rush in Maine. That's what it was. It was when we legalized marijuana, there was a vote in 2016. The state, came out and said, yes, we want adult use marijuana legalized. They formalized the program in 2020 and created an adult use program and a medicinal program, which are very distinct. And the medicinal program is vastly under-regulated compared to the adult use recreational program, which is counterintuitive. But the medicinal program is like the wild, wild west. But when we did this, we created just a pig scramble for a $5 to $10 billion market for this drug. And the forces that we unleashed and the forces that were brought to bear on Maine to access that money, we weren't prepared for. The local police weren't prepared for it. The sheriffs weren't prepared for it.
Because they were told that this was going to solve the crime problem associated with illegal drugs. If you legalize something, there's no more crime.
Yeah. In 2021, in Turner, Maine, at 57 Conant Road, there's a hangar right next to Twitchell Airport. It's a disused airport.
I know it.
The police have been there many, many times. We got police records from early 2021 where they had been called there for what they were told was a hostage situation. And when the police show up, there's Chinese individuals who only speak Cantonese running out in the woods, total chaos. They can't really discern what exactly is going on, but it's a civil dispute and they decide it's not their problem. But in their notes, they say that they believe it's the property's under the control of a, quote, Chinese gang from New York. That was in early 2021.
That was in their notes?
In the incident report, they say that they
Wasn't it their job to do something about it?
You think? There's never been any arrest made in connection with that facility, which functioned, according to the state police, as an illicit marijuana grow controlled by Chinese gangs from New York. The Office of Cannabis Policy, which regulates all of this, has suspended numerous licenses for Chinese marijuana growers from out of state who are affiliated with that property. There's never been any arrests made at that property until last December. A guy named William Robinson, no relation, was shot in the head there by a drug dealer. And the guy who shot him was later arrested hiding at a marina in San Diego.
You say you believe around 300 Chinese gang-controlled drug operations in Maine.
There are grow houses. There are flop houses. There are prostitution houses masquerading as massage parlors. There are some, I guess, financial hubs that you might say in Kittery and Old Orchard Beach and southern parts of the state. There are other facilities that seem distinctly militaristic in character.
What does that mean?
Your hair stands up on end when you go by them. I've knocked on the doors of a lot of marijuana facilities, but in Greenbush, Maine.
Where's that?
It's about 35 minutes north of Bangor, very rural. But there's an area where there are multiple adjacent properties, all controlled, all fenced off, motion sensors on the road so that they know if someone's coming well in advance. And blue collar workers I've talked with who have had to come out and do some service at those properties have talked about being surveilled by crews of, 8 young Chinese men, close crop haircuts, fatigues, and
Fatigues?
what there was described to me as fatigues, standing around the perimeter of the property. And when they need to access the property to do some load testing, if they're, for example, an electrical worker, they're physically stopped and prevented from accessing the property, and they're escorted off the property in 2 crisp $100 bills tucked into their back pocket, and they say, "Coffee money, coffee money, coffee money," and they push them off the property.
Things are completely out of control in Maine, obviously.
Yeah.
Completely out of control.
Yeah.
I should say, for the record, it's prettiest state out of 50, nicest people, lowest crime rate for my whole life. I'm 56, so a long time. And you're describing like something that's really, really dark.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.